Hello everybody, how are you feeling today? It's LRS1 here, and today I'm coming at you with an update to my Flower Cardian's deck profile. So this is of course after the new monsters that as you can see coming up from Flame of Destruction, which is it's about freaking time. And this card pretty much, let's just say this, it's kind of boosts the deck capabilities to be like super crazy good. Like it was good before, but like now Master Rule 4 kind of killed it, but now it's super crazy good. And if it was in Master Rule 3, I would say that this deck could have been doing a lot more shenanigans, but I guess Master Rule 4 doesn't really limit this deck because it has the capabilities to put a nice board as long as it draw a Soul Charge. But other than that, this deck is actually really fun. I'm not sure it's super competitive because it kind of limits itself to its own archetype. But yeah, it's still really fun, and I actually don't like that they add the name Viewing to this card, because why? Flower Cardian Moonflower was good enough. But without further ado, let's get started with this deck profile, and hopefully you will guys understand the Flower Cardian gimmick. So the Flower Cardian gimmick is pretty simple. Of course, we start with the free of the main monster, but I will explain the Flower Cardian gimmick first. The Flower Cardian gimmick is pretty much limiting themselves to their own archetype, as well as almost every single one of their cards, we'll talk about those that are not, let you to draw a card, and if it's a Flower Cardian monster, you get to keep it and activate another effect. So, yeah, if it's not a Flower Cardian monsters, you get to discard it and you pretty much go neg 1. However, you run enough of Flower Cardian monsters and cards that support this to make almost 100% sure that you're drawing a Flower Cardian monster. As well as they have also this kind of thing that they're a synchro level, and they make every single one of their monsters for a synchro summon, at least their tuners, making every single monster into a level 2 to synchro summon. So that's really important, and we'll get to that when we get to the synchro monsters, but that's pretty much it for that. So, hope you understand how the Flower Cardian gimmick goes. So, first of all, Flower Cardian Pine is pretty much a simple guy, simple thing. You normal summon it, you draw a card, it's a Flower Cardian monster, you get to keep it, and there you go. And then when they die by opponent or battle, by opponent card effect or battle, you get to pretty much draw a card as well. This time, when he dies, it's for free. So, that's pretty much it for him. He's pretty much your main guy because all of the other Flower Cardian monsters levels are kind of all over the place, so he's pretty much the only one I would say that you can summon with a greater of ease, but you have other cards to get to whatever you want, so you have like overall like 10 starting cards. Like I said, we'll get to that but I'll explain to you why this card is so important, because like you have to run free of him, not only because of the draw, but because it's one of your only ones that can start your combo, unfortunately. Which I think kind of like annoying, but again, this deck is mostly fun, and it's really fun to kind of like keep drawing and drawing and drawing, if you understand what I mean. So next up, I actually bumped up from my last deck profile Flower Cardian Moonflower, not Flower Cardian Moonflower, Flower Cardian Zebra Grass to 3 for a few reasons. First of all, it's pretty much unclog my hand because it has the ability of like being a magical mullet for all Flower Cardian monsters, so you can pretty much shuffle all of your dead Flower Cardian monsters, draw new cards, and you can get to keep them, so you don't worry about like, oh, I draw something, it's not a Flower Cardian and you have to send to the graveyard. Don't worry about that. This is not an effect of those. Only those that have the simple effect of like, I draw a card and reveal it, that's how that works. This one, not work like that. But you can special summon this card even if it's a level 8, you can special summon this card if you control a Flower Cardian monster, which is level 7 or lower, which that's why kind of like make me want to still run this card at 2 and run something else, but then I realized like there's nothing better to run, and this is one of the best Flower Cardian monsters as well, one of your best starters with Flower Cardian Pine and all that stuff. So this card is really important as well. Not as important as Pine, so you could banish sometimes if you don't want to allure, but it's at least a free special summon. More like at least a free special summon more useful than the level 12, even though the level 12 you can special summon it all the time, but this one at least does something for you. As well as it pretty much when you special summon it, you limit yourself with Flower Cardian monsters for the rest of the turn, so don't even bother to run anything else in the extra deck, because that's how this works. This deck kind of limits itself if I haven't explained it yet. Next up, we run 3 copies of Flower Cardian Willow, probably my favorite and the most important Flower Cardian monster, because this card has the awesome effect, which is not a hard once per turn, and it has the effect of a soft once per turn. So this card, while you control a level 10 or lower Flower Cardian monster, you get to special summon it, which is really cool. As well as have the ability to pretty much, once per turn, to shuffle a Flower Cardian monster from your graveyard to the deck, draw a card. Any card. It's awesome. It's one of the best Flower Cardian monsters because of this. It just pretty much starter combos, and like you get this card once, and you can just pretty much draw, oh, okay, I draw Soul Char, I draw Lure Darkness, I draw my spell combo pieces. It's kind of like make those a little bit more viable and good. Like, this card is amazing. I like this card so much because this card is pretty much the card that gets you there. You are going to have a lot of Flower Cardian monsters in grave, so you can shuffle them back and draw other card, which is also really, really cool and important. Next up, the only big version I'm running is 3 copies of Flower Cardian Flower Cardian Willow with Chilographer. I'm sorry, I'm just forgetting the names sometimes because they're really hard to pronounce. But this card is pretty simple. It's a tuner, like I said, all the tuners making when you synchro summon a level 2. But you can only special summon him by tributing a Flower Cardian Willow because he can, like, level 11 Flower Cardian monster except itself, and the only ones that you have is Willow. And this card pretty much has the awesome effect of, like, just draw a card and just, keep it with the Flower Cardian monster. And then I believe if it's has also an effect of, like, if you draw a card, show it, and if you do special summon it's a Flower Cardian monster, I believe so. But unfortunately, it almost never happens, and I never trigger this effect because it's how should I explain this? This is pretty much almost never happened because all of your Flower Cardians, like almost all of your Flower Cardian monsters, have like effects that restrict them to be special summoned except from maybe 1 or 2, which is this guy. So like it's not ignoring summoning conditions, so it doesn't give you the ability. Like the only ones I believe you can summon is like those guys with like if you draw them with this effect. So yeah, it's kind of like but it's still another draw card, which is not bad. And then the last one that I have to run, unfortunately, I don't really like to run him, but yeah, it's still pretty important, is 1 Flower Cardian, Pelonia, I believe his name is. Yeah, it's Pelonia. Pelonia has the annoying effect of, like, when he's getting attacked, you get to pretty much end the battle phase and draw a card, but it doesn't do anything else. It's not that useful, but you still need 2 copies of him for combos and stuff like that when we will get to the spells and explain this. Even though it's a nice free special summon monster, like anytime, as long as you control a Flower Cardian monster that's lower level than him, it's still a free special summon, but like it's still pretty bad. So I'm not 100% sure if I still want to keep it at 2, but in my opinion, like 2 is a good number if you draw him and you still have another one in the deck. So yeah, it's not the best in the world, but yeah. And that pretty much does it for the Flower Cardian basic monsters that came out in Dragon of Legends Unleashed, I believe the name was that, or Dragon of Legends Free if you prefer. And they're all, like, all of the Flower Cardians, like the other little ones, like Pine and every single one of them, has big versions, but all of the other big versions, unlike Willow with Chilographer, are not worth running for different reasons. Maybe Zebragrass is the only one that's worth it, because you could tribute the monster in the extra deck, because it's a level 8, like you have a monster in the extra deck because it's a level 8, so it can work with that, but it's still not worth it because the synchro is 10 times better. So yeah, the only ones that's worth it is a Willow with Chilographer because you don't have a lot of tuners, and I just needed a tuner. So that pretty much does it for the, like I said, the first wave of support that came. Now we'll move on to the rest of the support. So first of all, we're running 2 copies of a Clover with Boar, 2 copies of Maple with Deer, 3 copies of Pony with Battlefly, and 3 copies of Cherry Blossom with Curtain. So those 4 cards are really important. Boar, Cherry, Boar, Maple, and Peony are all really nice cards that came out from Flame of Destruction, which are pretty much like the big versions of the other Flower Cardian monsters, but they can tribute on any Flower Cardian monster, and then they also have a nice effect. So, like, you can even tribute this on the big Willow, or something like that. You can even tribute this on one of the other cards, and they don't have to be restrictive. So, Also, their effects are really nice. This one pretty much destroy a card. If you draw a Flower Cardian monster, destroy an opponent monster. This one destroy an opponent spell and trap. This one looks at the top 3 cards of your opponent deck and either put them in any orders that you wish in the top deck and or bottom deck. So you can just pretty much organize that. For example, let's just say they're supposed to not to draw a Garnet next turn for, like, you know, their combos. You could make 100% sure that they have to draw the Garnet and then making their Brilliant Fusion in hand useless. For example, that's the things that I did, and it was really, really super fun. And then the last one is pretty much your second combo piece that can start your game. It's like another, not the best version of Pine, because this card has to be revealed and then you drop Flower Cardian monster. If it's a Flower Cardian monster, if it's a Flower Cardian monster, you get to special summon this. If not, you're sending both cards to the graveyard, which is kind of bad, but it's still, you have to run this because it could be a free special summon with a great deal of ease, because you could set up your deck, which is really, really nice. So, like, you can stack your deck in the ways that you want with some particular cards. We'll talk about them. As well as, like I said, it's one of the only combo starters that you have, so you have to run 3 of this. And it's also a hand trap. It's kind of like a loot to protect your monsters with 1,000 attack every single time. So, like, you discard this and you give your monster 1,000 attack, which can actually be really, really good. And that does it for the monsters. So is that it took a little bit way too much time, but I want to explain how that deck works. Now we'll move on to the spells. So first of all, the most important spell in the deck is Flower Gathering. It doesn't have the name Flower Cardian in it, so it's only have the name Flower. But this card, what it does, it pretty much summon all of your 4 baby Flower Cardian monsters, or should I say the basic Flower Cardian monsters. Those are on the picture, which is those 4, which it says 4 Flower Cardian monsters with different name with 100 attack, and that's why I run this card. And then you freely special summon 4 of them from your deck, but their effects are negated, and you, of course, cannot special summon monsters except Flower Cardian monsters for the turn, so keep that in mind. But it doesn't really matter because the Flower Cardian like to run it pure anyway, but this card is so important. Like, it's so good. It can start your combos, so be worried when your opponent activate Ash or something like that. Just be smart to kind of like use something to bait them before you activate this, because this card can just start your combo like crazy. This is one of the most important cards in the deck. Next up, we're also running 3 copies of Flower Stocking, which is our card that led us to stock the top of our deck in any order that we wish, with 3 different Flower Cardian monsters, which is really, really cool, and it's not a hard once per turn. It's Graveyard Effect, which you can only activate during the next turn. It's a hard once per turn that lets you to recycle a Flower Cardian monster by banishing this from the graveyard and then add it to your hand, and then you can only use the effect, like I said, 1 hard once per turn. But its first effect is really, really cool, and it's not a hard once per turn. So you can stock any ones that you want. You can stock a Cherry Blossom, you can stock up a Zebra Grass if you think like you want to. Like, it's just really, really good and really, really important. And because of that, you want to run 3 of this. And then the last most important spell of the deck is Reincarnation, which lets you to target a Flower Cardian monster in your graveyard, add it to your hand, and then special summon 1 Flower Cardian monster from your deck, ignoring summoning condition, which is amazing. And then also, if this card is get excavated to the graveyard, so let's just say you activate the effect of this, like, you know, and it's draw this, and you have to send it to the graveyard, it has an awesome effect that lets you to excavate the top 5 cards of your deck, add 1 spell or trap, doesn't matter which, spell or trap. Not limited for Flower Cardian spell and trap, or something that have Flower Cardian monster in its text or something like that. It's added to your hand, and then you can put the top 4 cards that you have left, like the top 4, like the 4 that you revealed, and then put them at the top of your deck in any orders. This card is amazing. It's pretty much, in my opinion, the most important spell in the deck other than Flower Gathering. Like, Flower Stacking is nice and all, but this card is amazing. Like, even if you draw this, it's like another 3 copies of a card that can just give you a card and fetch you a card and just stuck your deck. It's like, it's amazing. This card is amazing. If you're running less than 3 of this, I don't even know what you're doing. And then the last spell I'm running is 1 copy of Koi Koi, which is a pretty interesting spell. It's not the best spell in the world, but it has the ability to work really well with Flower Stacking if you have to, which is pretty much excavate the top 3 cards of your deck. Any cards that's not a Flower Cardian monster, you get to banish and then face down, and then you receive 1,000 damage. But if you reveal 3 Flower Cardian monsters, or like any number of the Flower Cardian monsters that you revealed, pretty much you get to special summon them. They have their effect negated and become a level 2. And then you can also have the ability to banish the turn it once sent to the graveyard to tribute a Flower Cardian monster. And then special summon one Flower Cardian monster from your hand, ignoring its summoning condition. So this is a really cool card and can help you quite a lot if you need to and you're in a pinch. I'm not saying that it's the best card, that's why I'm only running one, but it's still really cool that it's kind of like have a card that you, if you have to start your combos. So it's another card of your combo starters, I would say, but it's not the best thing in the world. But anyway, now we'll move on to the rest of the spells. So we have 6 spells that we're running. So first of all, we're running 3 copies of Allure Darkness and 1 reinforcement of the army, which I don't really think I need to explain. They're warriors and they're dark, so might as well just take the most advantage out of them. And then the last 2 spells I'm running is the Revival spell, which is Monster Reborn and Soul Charge. Again, I don't really think I need to explain those, and that pretty much does it for these spells. And that does it for the main deck. No traps because you don't want to have traps. Now we'll move on to the rest for the extra deck. So we have 12 monsters in the extra deck because, like I said, you cannot special summon any monsters except Flower Cardian monsters, so you might as well maximize on your 4 synchro monsters. Unfortunately, we don't have a 5th one or a link monster, so yeah. So starting things off, the most important new card, or like I should say like one of the most important, if not the most important card in the extra deck, is the new card Flower Cardian Moonflower. And its effect is really, really awesome that it's once per turn lets you during the main phase to draw a card, and if you do, show it. If it's a Flower Cardian monster, you can just get the special summon it, ignore summoning conditions, and it can attack your opponent directly. You almost never use that for this effect, unless of course you're going second, but most of the time I not even use it to that because I have other things that are more important to that, more important to do than that, and like just keep using them for combos. And then, if you activate this effect, you can skip your next draw phase, which is not the end of the world, which we'll get to in another Synchro Monster. I'll explain to you why it's so good. As well as, this card is also really amazing. Again, it's another tuner that is pretty much treated as a level 2, like treating all of the Synchro materials and itself a level 2 when you need to Synchro Summon. So, it's also have, like I said, it's like not a 100 once per turn draw, which is amazing, as well as like, if you're thinking like you're not going to draw for like 4 to 5 turns if you activate this, first of all, it doesn't really matter. Like I said, for Flower Cardians, it's actually better not to draw, and like you rather make a board and just make your opponent just take damage and things like that. When we'll get to the other Synchro Monsters, I will explain why. But it also doesn't really matter because it's like not working like this. It's like what it called, I guess it's like Reckless Greed, I believe, the trap that lets you to draw 2 cards and then skip your next 2 draw phases, and you can activate 4 of them in the turn, and it's like only going to stack once. It's like the same as that. So even if you activate 3 Reckless Greed per turn, and even if you activate 10 of these per turn, if you can, you're not going to pretty much skip your 10 next draw phases. You're only going to skip your next draw phase. Like, it's apply only on the next draw phase. So that's pretty much does it for that. This is the new card, a really awesome card. And then we're running 3 copies of the other level 6, even though I'm not making more than 1. Like I said, you rather just maximize because you don't have anything else to run. And this card is pretty much, both of them are like 1 tuner and 2 non-tuners, so yeah. And then it has the effect of like, if a Flower Cardian monster you control attack a defense position monster, inflict piercing damage. As well, it can banish a card from a Flower Cardian monster from the graveyard, and then your opponent cannot activate effects from the graveyard and cannot special summon monsters from the graveyard. So this card is awesome. It's kind of like locking your opponent graveyard, which is really cool. And then we run the card that pretty much says no to the draw, and that's why I said like this doesn't really matter. The restriction, this card is really awesome. It's pretty much a Flower Cardian and Magispector to all of your magic for all of your monsters. Like, it's giving all of your monsters to be Magispectors. As well as it has the ability, if your opponent cannot, like I said, target it, and if you pretty much not draw, when you draw, it's pretty much negated his effect. So for the first time, it doesn't really matter. But like during your next standby phase, like if you draw a card, like during your next draw phase, if you draw a card, you pretty much negating his effect. But if you do not draw a card, you still get to keep his effect, which is really cool. And then also it has the awesome effect of like making your opponent lose a 1500 life. Because he drew a card. So this card is awesome. This card is amazing, and you still want to run free of this, like I said, because you might as well just maximize that because you cannot run anything else. And the last one I'm running is, of course, Flower Cardian Light Flare, which is the most harder one to summon, but still really amazing. And it has the following effect to just pretty much negate a spell and trap for free, which is really, really awesome. So if you can run, like, summon 1 or 2 of these per turn, I actually almost made, like, 3 of these per turn. It's almost impossible, but, like, you could almost do that, and it's, like, crazy. You can just negate spells and traps like crazy. But it also have a nice effect that even if he dies and leave the field, you pretty much get to special summon 1 of those guys. So that's why I kind of like maximize of all of them. So if I need, I can special summon this, make my opponent burn to death, special summon this, make my opponent do absolutely nothing, or special summon this and get a draw. Like, this card is also pretty important. It doesn't really matter. Like I explained, like, I'm going to explain it millions of times if you haven't got that. Flower Cardian monsters cannot let themselves special summon anything else from the extra deck or any other monsters from their hand and just not start any combos. So because of that, you can only special summon as your synchro monsters, which kind of like raising me the question if we're ever going to get a 5th synchro monster or a link monster, because this deck kind of like deserve at least, like, I don't care for like a link 2 or 3, I care about even a link 1 with a nice effect. So that's pretty much it what I care about. But that does it for the Flower Cardian deck profile. So hope you guys enjoy. Hope I explained it well to you guys and you understood what like you was able to understand what I'm trying to explain to you guys. So yeah, hope you guys enjoy. Like I said again, thank you so much guys for continue supporting me up to this day, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Remember, creativity is the key in this game. Have a good day guys and stay safe.